Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to the Minister, does he stand by all his recent statements on foreign investment?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, yes, New Zealand's economy needs a certain level of foreign investment in order to grow, and the figures are currently that New Zealanders are foreign investors to the extent of $55 billion in other countries, and other countries have investments of around $65 billion in New Zealand.
David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, who was correct about the current review of the overseas investment regime? This minister who wanted to make the sale of farmland easier, or John Key who said the review was to stop the sell-off of large tracts of land to foreign buyers?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, both of those representations are incorrect. We made it clear from the start of the overseas investment review that we wanted to facilitate the flow of investment into New Zealand at the same time as protecting those things which were important to New Zealanders. That has not changed.
Aaron Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A supplementary to the Minister. What has been achieved by the first stage of the Government's review of the Overseas Investment Act?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the Government is focused on administrative and regulatory changes in order to reduce the time and the cost of getting decisions, because that is in the interest both of New Zealand asset owners as well as investors who are looking for certainty. I'm pleased to say those changes have simplified the process and played a role in reducing the average application time from 63 days in August 2009 to just 38 days over the last 10 months. We need to keep in mind that we have to strike the right balance between access to overseas investment, which is critical to the creation of jobs and the payment of wages in New Zealand, on the one hand, but on the other hand, making sure we protect those things that New Zealanders value about our country and our landscape.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister, when he said, quote, "We don't want to get overly concerned about the sale of farmland if it's just another cycle," quote, did he mean he had no objection to, quote, New Zealanders becoming tenants in their own country, close quote?
The Honourable Bill English.
No, Mr. Speaker, I meant what I said. The fact is New Zealand has always had an inflow of overseas investment into land in New Zealand, and it continued in the nine years under that government. I was making the observation that sometimes we get a wave of overseas investment. People realise they can't make money out of farming in New Zealand, and if they don't live it and love it, they end up selling it and going away.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, when making decisions about overseas investment rules, which does he consider more important? Official advice from the Treasury, polling data from Crosby Textor, or public statements by John Key?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, what's most important is the common sense of a pragmatic and moderate and national government that has had pretty good support from the public to tidy up this economy, get their incomes up, provide them with secure jobs and protect those aspects of New Zealand that they hold dear.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, does he share the Prime Minister's lack of concern over the sale of individual farms, and if so, can he explain the difference between an overseas investor buying 16 Crayford farms in one transaction or buying the farms in 16 different transactions?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Act which that member's party wrote only deals with applications, whether it's for one farm or for 10 farms, and it applies a range of tests, including character tests and tests of benefit to New Zealand. The member was administering the Act himself. He should know how it works.
Question number 5, Pesata Sam Lord Tuiinga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.